Today's task is a data handling investigation. Now, so far in the data handling cycle, we've posed our questions. They were, what's your height, your weight, your age, and the number of pets you own. Okay, that's all. And all the information was collected on our spreadsheet. So we used the website Census at School to get those for us. How many bits of data, John, or how many students were asked? Where does it say the 50, John?
On the first row.
On the first row at the bottom. Connor, why did we pick 25 boys and 25 girls? Can you remember?
To make it fair.
To make it fair. Emer, can you tell me why did we not ask the whole school?
Because it'd take too long.
Take too long. So what did we take?
We took a sample.
We took a sample, which we told already was size 50. Good. Then we collected the data, as you can see, and now we're going to go through the first task. Today's lesson was split into two tasks. The first task was based on discrete data, which was shown using frequency tables, pie charts, and the mean. The second task was based on continuous data, which was stem and leaf diagrams, histograms, and also the mode and the median. So the task that we're going to do today is going to organize the data by creating a frequency table. Then we're going to draw a pie chart to represent the data. Then we're going to calculate the mean of the data. And finally, you're going to compare your results with the other group on your table.
Can you call out the numbers so I can put them into my frequency table?
4. 1.
In today's lesson we talked about discrete and continuous data, and we drew a frequency table and we got a sample of students from a school and sorted out the number of pets they had.
Some of it was hard, the tally chart was hard getting the numbers right in it, but it was easy then.
3.
I've got myself so sorry. I've got all these
3.
We drew pie charts, we drew frequency tables and stem and leaf diagrams, and in our groups we were figuring out about the averages, the mode, median and the mean.
How did you work out your angles?
I divided 360 by 50 and you get 7.2, and then you multiply it all together.
So now what I need you to do is have a look at the next task. It's calculate the mean of the data, where you add them all up and divide them by how many there are. There's two ways you could do it, and I want to see if you can decide which way is the best. The students have already been able to do frequency tables and pie charts and the averages, and today's lesson obviously was to try and marry them all together. So they actually came up, they were comfortable with the first two parts of the discrete data, the frequency table and the pie chart. It was when the mean that they weren't so sure about how to calculate that, so that was one of the difficulties. Some of the students were able to come up with finding the mean from a table, and that is one of the benefits of Project Maths, as we hadn't shown that in class. We found out just before we got started on this task that to find the mean, you just add them all up and divide them by how many there are, which is perfectly fine. Connor, did you just add them all up and divide them by 50?
We multiplied the frequency by the number.
So you did the frequency by the number of pets, was it?
Yeah.
And why would you do that?
Because that tells you how many pets there were.
Right, and is that just quicker? What's the other way you could have done it?
Just add them all up.
Add them all up. John, can you give me an example from the sheet that could be continuous data?
Height.
Height. Can you remember why height is continuous?
Because it can change.
How do we find the height? We have to do something.
Measure it.
Measured. So that's kind of like our guide, our keyword. So counted, measured. So now we're going to work on continuous data. Can you create a stem and leaf diagram for all your weights, please? So nice and big. So a stem and leaf diagram for your weight.
Is there any like 10s or 20s? No.
65.
45.
58. 50. 45.
54. 52.
What's the problem?
52. 45. 45. 59. 59.
Anybody notice anything in one of the particular samples?
Single number.
What's the single number?
It's not ours. 9.
9. And what's wrong with a person of 15 or 16 weighing 9 kilograms?
They're anorexic.
Right, so they're very, very light. So there's probably a mistake in there. And that's one of the drawbacks of large amounts of data. We may make mistakes collecting it, or whoever's collecting for us may make mistakes.
I found project maths easier because you can discuss answers with your classmates, while as before you had to figure things out yourself.
Project maths was very different at the very beginning of the year compared to what we used to do in our old school. But now it's very easy. We do it in groups with the help of teachers, students, and all the other people who help us with it.
These first years, when they get to third year and their junior cert, will have had the advantage of working with project maths for those 3 years. This should show a benefit in an increased overall average grade in terms of, and ability-wise, in terms of how they will work with the subject material, compared with the older course where it was learnt by rote, and therefore if it was a bad day they struggled in the exam, whereas the project maths should develop skills that they can use and adapt to the exams when they get to them.